There we go. It is time for our talk. Da, 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 da. We need to get a theme song, I guess. Today we're talking about Mr. Right may not be Mr. Perfect. Words are very interesting, right? Like, usually those go synonymous, I think, but I feel like they're very different. So I'm just being careful about words here. And I think Mr. Right may not be Mr. Perfect is a very hot topic for us. When we were talking about this, we could talk about, I just remember going,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mean I was making those noises?
Yeah, you made that sound.
Yes, I was like, ooh, ooh. And I think Lauren, my fiance, was in the kitchen making breakfast, and he was hearing me say certain things. He's like, oh, ooh. It's good. It's a good one.
And do you, this is just me always inquisitive, but do you feel like it was things that he felt like he needed to hear about you as well? Or what was it about?
Probably, but for him as well. But mostly, I think these webinars always come at the perfect time. We've been exploring a lot of imperfection and the humanness of a relationship, of both of us. Yeah.
And I think it's just so interesting too when you're dating, or when you even are trying to get to know the person you love even more, how no matter what kind of spiritual evolution you have, it's just like you have to tap into the raw parts of you and be like, okay, who is this human being? What do they value? Are they the right person for me at this time?
Totally. Yeah. Like compatibility. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I guess, like, I just want to share too, when I thought of this topic as well, because I was talking to somebody, and she is also very spiritually advanced, and she said, oh, I'm enjoying dating, but usually I don't get past like the second or third date. And people, there's no spiritual men out there, and the spiritual men out there, they're kind of disconnected, and they're not really able to provide and protect in the way that I want to feel like. So she was like, yeah, so I dated this one guy. He seems interesting. I'm really attracted to him, but he's a Republican, so I can't date him. And then she's like, this guy, we dated a couple of times. We had some nice, like, steamy moments, and he had a motorcycle, and I would go biking around with him. But he wasn't ready for a commitment. So he said he didn't want any commitment, so had to let that go. And then, like, it was all these lists of things, and I was thinking to myself, like, wow, what a shame. What if one of these people actually wanted to grow spiritually, or even though they're a gym jock, like, are curious about these other things, or just entrenched in their own lives, just like we get entrenched in ours, and we have our yoga practice, we have our self-care routine, we have all these things that we have to do all the time. And we probably seem pretty cuckoo on the outside too.
Right. Definitely. Yeah.
And
I think we're at a time to where men are hungry for this change, and this shift into taking care of themselves better.
Yeah. So how have you noticed that?
How have I noticed it?
Yeah, like, what do you notice?
Just from I've seen, just over in my practice, more men coming in to do spiritual growth. And I think on a collective level, after the whole Me Too movement.
Yeah.
I think that it shook something in men collectively to where they felt like they needed to come in and heal some things. So I
Mm-hmm.
think whether you're in tune with like the collective consciousness or not, I think that a lot of men are feeling it, and they come in almost like in secret a little,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do find too that men like to be secretive when they have something up their sleeve, or they don't know how things are going to end. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they don't really want to share and commit to something unless they're sure it's going to end up okay.
Right.
And I
Right.
think that's a really interesting point about spiritual work too. Like you don't really know how it's going to end up, and it really takes a lot to get comfortable with the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if like as I'm thinking here, if you're a spiritual woman, you're looking for a spiritual man, you may not know that he's trying to be spiritual, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's in secret doing this.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I think the first thing we want to talk about was expectations, and the expectations, and the top of the checklist type of things that um, women tend to come in about beginning of a relationship. And I think that some of those top ones are looking for a committed relationship, like looking for a family. What else? What else would it be? Like has a steady job.
Wanting to get married.
Want to get married? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm stating your age and saying I want to have kids by this age.
Yes.
That biological clock, expressing about your biological
Like,
clock.
yeah, my biological clock, and the guy goes, "Oh my God."
Right, right,
You see the fear.
right. Also, just I think even expressing like I want a deep spiritual connection. I think that is even could be a little heavy for men.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard because this is like your honest to God needs, right?
Totally.
And then men like just to take things as they come and be patient. I know Anthony, like he didn't want to commit to being like exclusive for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
It was after our 6-year anniversary, and several years of like complaining that he didn't want to marry me, and and letting it go and complaining again, letting it go, that I completely gave up. And the next day he ended up proposing to me. So like what I learned from Anthony is that, and I don't think I'm the only one because I've heard other stories happen the same way too, is that, men just take their time, and when they're decided, they're not like, well, what would have happened if I made that decision? They're just like decided.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
um, so I don't know. It's kind of like an interesting question, right? When you go into a new relationship and you have these needs, these desires to have a future with somebody, and the nature of men is inherently different. Like women inherently want to settle, to create security and nesting. It's like a feminine instinct, and then the masculine instinct is to create direction and shape, but they have to really trust and know who they're doing that with beforehand.
Yeah. And feel safe.
Feel safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, from just to share, when I was in the beginning stages of me and Lauren first starting and dating, it was me knowing my needs and then knowing where he was at and knowing his rhythm, right? And then me keeping my needs almost to myself and just watching the rhythm and letting it kind of evolve and seeing where it was going and noticing, if I express it in this way, does he contract or does he open?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, I need to pull back, and then expressing a little bit more, and then giving that room to grow and giving him space, because it's important for them to trust and to feel safe.
Yeah.
And that their rhythm is okay.
Yeah. And what do you mean? I think I know what you mean by rhythm, but what do you mean by observing their rhythm?
Yeah, I feel that men have sometimes a bit of a slower rhythm.
Yeah.
And I think as a conscious woman, a spiritual woman, we're very intuitive, we're very aware, and our rhythm can be a little faster. Like we know things before perhaps our partner does, which changes over time. They make right.
Yeah.
But I think at the beginning you're kind of you're in two different rhythms, and I think one person is always a little bit more ahead and kind of guiding.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. I feel like it's centered around the sense of faith and inner knowing. So like, and even like this happens even in my marriage now of six years, I think, where I can feel the potential of something. Like, okay, I know this guy. I know, like, for example, when I knew Anthony was for me and he was really being a jerk, I still knew that. And then I just was creating that space, and somehow I still had the sense of faith, and it did take him. I noticed he was always like 3-4 months behind.
Yes.
Something that I would say.
Me too.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Every step, moving in, 3 months behind. I was ready for an engagement probably 3 or 4 months before him. Exactly like that. Yeah.
And so it's interesting too, if we're thinking about a brand new, spanking new relationship, and these things are really important to you. Like, what if like you changed the dating dynamic, and it was more about showing up and observing, and not necessarily like being the mature, developed couple you imagine being, but like just letting things take their own time and be like, okay, well, maybe he's 3 or 4 months behind me.
Right.
And so like, okay, that could be a really big time suck if it's the wrong person.
Right.
But if it's if you have like the inner gauge going about it being the right person, then it really could,
right.
maybe that could really work to your advantage.
Yeah. And then you get to practice being present. You get to practice having faith. You get to practice being patient. You get to practice having fun.
Yeah.
In the moment.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's the hardest for me.
Yeah.
The thinking like,
yeah. So they're really gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good spiritual work too, that you can't generate for yourself that easily. To be like tested, like,
yeah,
here it is. Now, which person do I want to be? I don't want to be so reactive.
Yes.
And yeah, constantly growing up, no matter your age.
Yes.
So let's just talk about maybe. I feel good about that talking point. How do you feel?
I feel great about that. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like maybe we should just talk about some of the like red flags that maybe shouldn't be red flags. So like the disqualified, beep. Like a game show, like, and you just like check out. You're like, oh, and everything's going well, and then you check out. Like, okay, that's really a bad habit. Or
okay, so bad habit, say smoking.
Yeah.
Is that a red flag?
It could be.
Could be.
Could be. Bad habit, like picking your teeth
Oh,
Do,
wow.
okay, I don't know. Like weird bad habits. I mean, I would never have dated this person, but I once had a coworker um, talk to me about something as he was licking his glasses to
Hmm.
clean them. Like
Oh
that was
my gosh.
super disgusting.
Yes. Yes, that's a big red flag.
So maybe that's a good red flag.
Yes, it's a good one.
um, what else could be a red flag? Um,
Um, Alcoholism,
yeah,
going on a date and how many
getting
drinks
wasted,
are they having at dinner?
pumping them back.
Yeah.
Is it my headphone that's going a little bit crazy, or do you hear it on your end? Or
I, I do hear it. Let me take mine off and see. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, it's a little more echoey. Is it still making the funny sound or no?
Not right now. Maybe it's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, sorry for that aside. So we were talking about bad habits. Could be like drinking too much on a date, flirting with the waitress. That's
Yeah.
a bad move. I think
Yes.
that's probably a legitimate red flag.
Yes. Definitely.
um, what else could happen? Just being on the phone all the time, always checking your phone and texting or getting news articles.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also too, like being a little too forceful,
Hmm.
perhaps, like not having proper boundaries, or even like sometimes like spatial awareness, or too touchy, or not being conscious of the body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And I think a lot of men never have that training. They may have no idea they're doing it. Some do, but some may not have any idea they're being, yeah. Um, Also, I think there's some like disqualifying marks could be like career or money situation.
Mhm.
I find like a lot of the people I work with, they're women who have found success and their own livelihood and lifestyle on their own terms.
Mhm.
And so oftentimes their boyfriends just aren't there yet. And so they feel like, okay, am I going to be the provider? Can I handle that?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so uneven money or even career aspirations.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Uh, and I guess too for spiritual people, it's about your beliefs, right? Like, oh, he doesn't believe. I know I we have a friend who's an astrologer, and she's very careful about when who she tells that she's an astrologer.
Yeah.
Right? She's like, okay, what does she call them?
Muggles.
Muggles. Yes, the Harry Potter term. Are they
Yeah.
muggles, or can I tell them? Can I tell them who I really am?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I think I had a problem with that word too. I would call certain men muggles when dating. Like,
Yeah.
tell them I do energy work. Yeah.
Yeah, and so how would you like what would they say or do that would made you like go into muggle mode?
Hmm. That would make them go into muggle
No,
mode.
make you think of them as muggles.
Oh. They tend to use the word woo woo,
Hmm.
or
That can be offensive.
yes, woo woo, or they prefer like evidence based science,
Hmm.
or they don't even believe in the universe, or the
secrets, or muggles usually like refer to like, oh, you're into that secret stuff or attraction, law of attraction stuff.
Yeah. Well, you live in LA too. Like, at least men know what that is. So, like, were you thinking, did it seem like that you being more into the esoteric and spiritual things was a disqualifying aspect for them? Or was it more just like you being the other way?
No.
They weren't disqualifying you for that, having that.
No. They can think what they want, but I truly believe that all men are very intrigued by this esoteric world. And it's really like, it's like God or like spirit like sneaking in. It's like they're not intrigued by me or that I do this. It's like a natural attraction to truth, I feel.
Yeah.
Level.
Yeah. And I think it's something too, like the male energy of rationale and logic and understanding. They want to find some sort of order and consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I guess there's always a sense of curiosity that goes with that to see, oh, well, what if it's true?
Yeah.
I may not agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day they agree. You're like, what happened?
Yeah.
That's huge, Elizabeth. Like, what if, like, I mean, Lauren's the guy for you, so obviously you made the right decision. But I was thinking, like, what if one of those guys just was like, one day you continue dating and he was like, yeah, I need to figure out what this meditation thing is, and I think about my own introduction to spirituality too, because I grew up Catholic, always interested in the mysticism part, and I had some experiences, but it wasn't until I was in the middle of a dance class where it was improvisational, and we started by moving from impulses within the body, and then we moved to impulses from outside the body, and I felt like forces just moving my arms, moving my torso. I just felt this whole thing. I was like, what is that?
Right.
And it was undeniable. And so that really began a huge quest for me.
Yes.
So, like, it just takes one moment, really.
Yes. One feeling, right?
Yeah. I just rambled on and on. I got really excited about that.
It's an important, I think a lot of women do disqualify men if they don't have the spiritual practices that they do, if they're not meditating, if they're not into yoga or vegan, or they can automatically disqualify them. But I would, from my own experience, I would encourage to, what if they're yearning for exactly what you do, and it doesn't even, maybe exactly what you do is not the sentence, it's just maybe they're yearning to grow with someone. What if they're yearning for practices similar in a more masculine way, and you're that gift for them?
Yeah. Or I think, a lot of men are yearning for depth and maturity.
Exactly.
Too, and they don't know how that's going to look because their experience has been with people who seem like they're into very surfacey things.
Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting too, because if you think of it that way, some of these men who would be normally disqualified are actually just as vulnerable about that situation, that unspoken situation, as we would be if we were dating them.
Right.
It's a big one.
Hi, guys. Hello.
Hi,
it's Kenya.
Oh, hey.
Hi, listening in from Greece. It's 5:00 in the morning here, I think.
Oh,
but
my God.
I'm like sleeping and listening at the same time. Hi.
Hi.
So it sounds like you just have to be yourself, basically, and be patient. Be patient and be yourself. That's what I'm taking away from this so far.
Yeah. And I think I think that what Elizabeth and I are also talking out, because we're taking today's topic more as a talking out than like this and this and this and this. I think what we're talking out too is that there are a lot of red flags that our minds want to put up that may or may not, that maybe should not be there, or maybe that they are good that they're there. And so I think we're gonna start moving now more into discerning between taking the adventure with somebody because of your inner knowing, which we'll get more to, and versus letting yourself fall into the traps of the bad boy. So I want to hear what you're thinking a little bit later, Kenya, but I think there's more for you. And good morning. Do you have anything to add to that, Elizabeth?
There's more for me. Good morning.
Yeah.
There's more of.
No, yeah, I think, yeah, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. So, so yeah, let's go into this next part about, now we've talked about the expectations, what your needs are, and our timing versus men's timing being a little bit later. And then some of the red flags we put up, that we may not give ourselves time to have the whole truth, or even to give them a fair chance to see who they want to become too. So I guess like now it's about, okay, so what if some of these former red flags are not red flags, and what if some of them are? So one side's the adventure. You called it adventure boy, right?
Yeah.
Versus the bad boy. Yes, the wild adventure.
Yeah.
You had some thoughts on that. Do you just want to go for it?
Yeah. Well, I think that was a big breakthrough for me when I was dating Lauren, my fiance, because he scared me at first. He's a director, producer for this like really cool like French hip hop company, and I was like, oh, like we don't date producers or directors and music videos and hip hop. I went into my judgment mode, and then I remember like finding out on our second or third date that he rode a motorcycle. And I was like excited because I have a history of like bad boys, and then I was like, no, like I cannot do it.
I like this.
No more motorcycle. But it was just getting to know him more. It was like Lauren is about silliness. He's about storytelling. This is a director that he is. This is his livelihood. Motorcycle, great. He commutes to Venice. It's the fastest way from east side to west side. And also, this is his personality. He's a trapeze artist. He likes adrenaline, and it's really the judgments that you make and noticing them, and then again going into the dating, going into the person and seeing, how do they make these decisions? What is it that they like? What is it that they crave? who are they really, and observing and listening. Because what if I had said, like, no, I'm not going to date someone in that industry. No, I'm not going to date someone who rides a motorcycle. It'd be a very sad story.
It would.
So noticing, is it just part of their nature, of their personality? Is it adventure? Maybe even that you're kind of craving. Maybe they're craving spirituality and you're craving adventure. What a great balance. Yeah. Or is it really this toxic person with toxic habits, and I'm gonna drink and get on my motorcycle, film this music video, and you won't hear from me for weeks. Ha 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 ha. It's really taking the time to get to know them and noticing that discerning factor of toxicity versus.
Yeah. What I really like a lot of what you said, but what really stuck for me is noticing how they make decisions, because I think that's really the most telling about a person's character and who they're likely to become because of those kinds of decisions.
Right.
Because like you can have someone who's a dreamer, and then the way they go about their life is they just never make any decisions, or they are holding and waiting. So like you're like, oh, I have such high aspirations with you, but you don't do anything. So so you're like, okay, well maybe this isn't going to be a match to where I feel like I'm destined. And two, like I think there's something interesting in what you said about learning to understand the way they process and go through things, not only to learn about what's likely to happen, but just to see their own magic in a way. Like Anthony has this habit. It gives me a heart attack every time, but it's happened like 4 or 5 times. So I now like, okay, here it is. And he recently did this again where he gracefully and charismatically leaves all of his jobs and all of his work and starts something radically new. And then I'm like, I don't want to have to be stuck with all the bills. And then somehow he doubles his income from the next thing. Like it's crazy. So I mean, I'm hoping for that trend this next time, but we're in the middle of the transition where it takes a couple months to get something new. But that's something too. I think like that could be a game killer for a lot of people, and it's because I'm stubborn, I guess I stuck it through. But if I hadn't stuck it through, I wouldn't see his magic and how he makes something out of nothing, it seems.
And honestly, like honoring himself, right?
Yeah.
How many men just become like a victim to their job and stay in it, and then they become resentful, and then parts of them aren't expressed, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage to constantly honor where you're at.
Yeah, that's a really good point you're making too, because I'm realizing that especially in the spiritual community, there's been a lot of rising to embrace the divine feminine and the sacred woman. And what do they call those? I think they're festivals it's done in Tantra where they just adorn a woman for the whole entire thing. I forget what it's called. But there's a lot of things like that, and there's not very much going the other way to men where like you said, like they're getting space to honor themselves and honor their truth.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Because if we're allowing them space to honor their truth, that means like it's natural to want to reciprocate that, and then they can learn how to give us the space to honor ourselves.
Definitely. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what about the bad boys? Like, how did you discern the difference between the bad boy flags and the truth of it being more a fun, spirited, adventurous, but grounded person?
Yeah. I I I like to ask questions about, not that someone's past defines them, but I would like to know about, past relationships. What happened? How were they? Um, I think the bad boys either don't like to talk about their relationships, or maybe they have a record of, cheating or addictions, or um, I think their behaviors really come out. You learn about their behaviors as they talk a little bit about their past relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also discerning the bad boys by how they treat you. And I think in every moment, how present are they? Um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
at every moment. What are your dates like? How do you feel after seeing them?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when they call you? So also honoring, I think honoring myself and intuitively knowing what I felt after spending time with them. Did I feel drained? Did I feel good inside? Did I have a bad feeling when he talked about this? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Being a listener.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for you, like, how long into the dating do you try to ask those kinds of questions?
I mean, you don't want to go into past relationships on the first date, but over time you ask little by little, right?
Yeah. Yeah. um,
How about you, Kristen? Do you have any experience with bad boys or discerning?
Not really, because I like for most of the time I was or would be dating, I was still very afraid and sheltered. Um, or on the other end, I was just like on a mission and didn't care. I was the bad girl.
Ooh.
Yeah. I was like on like a mission. Like I had a really bad period of dating after my ex-boyfriend dumped me over email.
Mhm.
And I just dated around looking to replace him.
Mhm.
And it was like totally subconscious, but totally half aware
Mhm.
as well. And so I wasn't really, I tried being open to a relationship and connection, but I just wasn't feeling it. I was like,
Yeah.
I was just like in replace mode,
Right.
um, replace with like. And then when I decided that I couldn't, this is interesting because it's interesting to talk about how exes, you play out the pain of your exes through the people you date afterwards. It's not always a rebound. It's just like you're looking for what you know, what your comforts are.
Right.
So uh, when I made the decision that I wasn't going to be able to figure out that pain,
Mhm.
I think that that must have opened up a new space for a different kind of person because Anthony came in. And I was triggered in the same ways. I had the same behaviors and all that. Those same issues came up because that's my issues to work out in this life. But it was a totally different person.
Yeah.
Um, so it's interesting too, like to think about is this person just reminding me of my ex and what I'm comfortable with, or maybe I should go into the uncomfortable
right now because there's something inside of me saying that it's good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, yeah, accepting your lessons and what you're here to work on, right? And then also accepting his humanness and imperfections as well. And then also with all of that, like, but I know and I trust myself in what I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm thinking about too, as you're reflecting back what I said. That I find that your patterns and your karma always will play out with your relationships. And it doesn't matter who it is. It's going to keep coming up no matter who it is. So you're really choosing who do you want to work through all the stuff that's coming up.
Yeah.
And that's why we ask we are looking for how do they work through their struggles?
Yeah.
How are they making decisions? What's their honoring themselves and their magic? Like all those are indicators of like, okay, is this somebody, which goes to the ultimate checklist, but is this somebody that I really can spend my life with or spend a good part of my life with?
Right.
Because I have to grow.
Yeah.
It's going to come up with no water. Yeah. Who is it going to be with?
Yeah. And yeah, another thing I would always add to that is, I mean, for myself, who do I want to laugh all this out with?
Yes.
Because it's so serious, our patterns and our karma, and then you move through it and it's like, but then who can I laugh with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Laughter is so important.
Yeah.
Archer's been teaching me a lot more about laughter because something like happens where he could hurt or get scared, and then we just make a joke out of it and laugh, and it's funny and it moves through things so much easier. And Anthony I do that too. So laughter, it's really great sense of humor.
Yeah.
Great. So going back to the Mr. Right may not be Mr. Perfect, the ways he may not be Mr. Perfect, are all those things. And then you had like a process you wanted to go through.
So Mr. Right, and you can move through this checklist to kind of gauge, is it right? Is he Mr. Right? Without me judging, is he perfect? And we just kind of added on to Kristen's checklist, asking questions. Am I growing in a way that I like with this person? Am I happy in this relationship? Am I happy in connection with this person? Do I feel like it's right inside of me, that inner knowing, it feels like a yes? And then we added, is the judgment I have directly affecting the relationship? And judgment meaning, like maybe that if he's Republican, is it really, and you're a Democrat and he's a Republican, is it really directly affecting the relationship? Meaning like you're having arguments over it nightly or weekly and it's draining energy out of you. Or is the relationship evolving and it's just on the side?
Yeah, and to that point, like maybe they're Republican because that's what their family is.
Right.
But they actually practice things that are much more democratic. It's just that their title is maybe mislabeled.
Right. And the last one, what do I have control over to give space for my man to be human?
Oh,
Kristen, do you want to talk about that one a little bit more?
yeah. Um, that's so, it's, it just gets to me in my heart. Um, like, I guess growing up to be able to take care of myself and to be a modern woman. My dad raised me in a way to be Renaissance woman in a way. And so with that, a lot of the people and circles I connected with uh, made me feel entitled to be treated a certain way by men in relationships. And some of it's more traditional, and then some of it with the spiritual community it should be more like praise and almost worshiping, which I'm not into the worship thing. I think that's misguided because I'm human too. And so I feel like, oh yeah, women have permission to be emotional. Um, like I feel like I give myself permission to be indecisive and lost at times. And then I find it's harder for me to actually let my partner be human in the same way, to feel uncertain, to feel scared about making commitments, to have emotions even. Um, and so even to make mistakes, like being mad, like, okay, you didn't notice that I needed help with the dishes. Like the dishes are always the issue with Anthony and me. Like, you didn't notice I needed help with the dishes. And then actually he was just like working on organizing his schedule for the next day so he could spend more time with me. Uh, that's a human moment. And I really shouldn't blame him for not reading my mind. And on top of that, he has needs too, to feel like he has his life in order, that he can feel like he has agency to show up in my life, that I'm not running the show, that it's going to be that we're both running the show. So when I say, what do I have control over to give space for my man to be human, I'm meaning like, what are my judgments or projections I'm putting on him that are just making it harder for me to receive from him, and for me to let him have a full and enriched life, which will in turn enrich my life. That's what it means to me, which is a battle because, I'm a very determined person myself. And then it's like, I can be forceful, and it's not fair to him if I don't give him space to be human.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you? Because we both kind of, I think, were touched by that one.
Yeah. What I heard when we were talking about that for myself was I'm a Virgo moon. I strive for perfection in a lot of different areas in my life. I have very high expectations for myself in very little ways. And I think I can be very harsh with my partner in him being perfect as well. So what I heard was just giving him space to embrace his own imperfections, and for me to embrace his imperfections and accepting that I'm not perfect. I'm human. I'm doing the best I can. He's human. He's really doing the best he can.
Yeah.
And knowing when a man loves you, they're always doing the best that they can. They're showing up for a date. They're doing the best that they can.
Yeah. And before love comes care.
Yeah. Yeah.
and humility and honesty.
Yeah.
And I think some men too, like when they're processing things, they become quiet. So like giving them the space to be quiet,
Right. Right.
not bugging them.
Yeah. And going back to the beginning, that's their rhythm, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Great. So, Kenya, we are recording this, but if you are comfortable, I would love to hear what you are taking away from this talk so far.
Hi. It's a lot of good stuff here. I don't know. I mean, I think right now I'm still kind of like overcoming or dealing with a legitimate fear, I guess, from the past relationship I had with a commitment phobic man, and he was sending me different signs that my intuition, like something felt like a punch in the stomach, and then I'm like not following my intuition still,
Mm-hmm.
and saying, "Oh, he just needs space." So for me, it's like that when you guys start talking about the need for space and waiting things out, and this lag time or disparity between the two rhythms, the man and the woman, it kind of scares me a little bit, honestly, because of this past trauma, or whatever you want to call it, um, from misinterpreting. I mean, maybe it was. I think he did love. He did. He said that he loved me. It's. He did love me, but then it's like, is that really love? Is that what love looks like? And so for me, I'm just kind of like, okay, well, he asked for space a couple of times in our relationship, and that should have been a red flag for me. But at the same time, now I'm thinking, well, was it? Even though he ended up being commitment phobic, after I had asked him, like, what were your past relationships like? There was a pattern there that screamed commitment phobic. And I wasn't listening. And I don't know, it's just scary for me.
Yeah, I think that the part that didn't get as much weight, but you mentioned it, was the part you said where my intuition pretty early on said he wasn't the right one for me.
Mm.
I think that's the part that needs to be honored, because that's the only thing, the intuition and the faith, because the intuition will give you faith to weather through something with someone. And then you see those flags like that, like, okay, commitment phobe and asking for space. Like, this is his pattern. He's going to be working through it. I understand that that's his karma. Am I comfortable with the ways I'm growing as he's being triggered in this way, and playing that part and growing through it together? Yes or no? And if you're like, okay, like, I don't think I can go back and forth like this, I need someone who's steady and strong, you can know earlier on that what your intuition says and what you're observing are actually showing you a way that you're not willing to grow with somebody, and that you can let that go more easily earlier on next time.
Yeah, and I think the difference between me then and me now is the fact that I wasn't as steady and strong, even though I was asking for someone, or trying to calling in somebody who was steady and strong. in reality, I wasn't that myself inside. So that's the difference now, is that like I'm much steadier and stronger about wanting a committed relationship, and not just saying it on the inside. But like as I was saying before, like, yes, there is a fear because of a past hurt. So I still have a little bit of fear left, but I'm still working on that.
And what great contrast you have now to look at that relationship, and you can go through those ultimate checklist questions. Do I feel like it's right for me?
Yeah.
And then going to reflecting back and feeling those punches of what doesn't feel right, and then someone new. Do I feel like it's right for me? And my steady and strong self is this difference, is at a contrast from what I've gone through in the past. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's healthy to expect you will be triggered, just as he will be triggered. And it's about how you move through being triggered. And is the result of like moving through one argument or one punch, as Elizabeth said, is the result of that bring you to a place where you like yourself better, you feel more mature in a way that feels aligned to your higher self? Or is it just leading you in a learning direction that's almost net zero? You're like, okay, that's a learning experience that's not really important for me in this life.
Right. Yeah, I think it was very beautiful too what you guys were saying about the fact that you do have to grow. Yeah, I have to grow anyway. So who is it going to be that I'm going to grow with? And so pick a person, pick a card. You know, that's, you know, to me that's very beautiful, because that basically flies in the face of this, you know, notion of the one and only soulmate, when really we have so many out there that can bring us what we need, and we can bring them what they need, and we can complement each other. There's so many perfect fits out there. It's just, which one are we going to wear tonight? Which one are we going to grow ourselves with? I think that's very beautiful.
Yay. Oh, that makes me tingle all over. Thank you. What we just wanted to do now, and I'm going to mute you for a moment again, Kenya. We can talk again after if you have some more questions. So what we just wanted to do really quickly was to share with you how our group coaching has changed a little bit. And right now we're thinking about the pace, the rhythm of our own group and the rhythm that it takes to really create a space within you to love yourself more and to start radiating that self-love that attracts not only the person you want to grow with, but also to keep them around. And we felt like that really does take longer than 3 months. Like, oh yeah, like we could definitely make some groundbreaking changes in your life within 3 months, but the year felt really solid and strong so that we could really be on the journey with you. Even after you find somebody that we can help you with those initial moments that are, that are uncomfortable, and figuring out, okay, am I growing in the way I'd like to? Those questions again. And ultimately growing the relationship to a point where you can feel committed and on the path that you want to be in your biggest vision. So we're still going through all of the essentials of solid coaching, which has to do with building your vision and really making the right vision for your relationships. That's beyond checklists. It's about having a quality of life that you can imagine, that you can feel in your body and your cells. And that really, when you have that kind of vision, it's much easier to have that inner knowing about if this person's the right person for you. So we have that. We have action steps we encourage you to take and to make. We have about environments, about putting yourself in positive environments to help you, encourage you, being your best self and really attracting the right person. Our group being one of the strongest ones for you. So if it's about skill building, maybe you need help with dating. Maybe you need help with taking your relationship to the next level. Maybe you need help with receiving love. Maybe you need help with expressing your love. We work on all of those. And finally, it's just really about the inner game. Like when you get triggered, and we got to move through it. This experience as a woman is, we have the illusion that we're in it alone. But every single time I talk to women, I'm like, that's me. Or I didn't even realize that was me, but I've had that happen to me too. So really the inner work and not isolating yourself anymore to feel like you're in it alone. It's just huge for your heart, your soul. And really what we're all here to do is just to grow and evolve, and ideally with somebody else. So I'm just going to quickly see if I can share my screen right here. So this is the website. It's Kristen.today, Kristen. It's that's a slash, discover-true-love. And in it, you have the basics of what we're doing. If you want to sign up now, you just click the button, reserve your spot up here or down the bottom. Again, we're doing calls. We meet every other week on Thursdays at this time, actually, 6 o'clock. And here at the bottom, you see our bonuses. Those are still there for you. You get an hour coaching with me. And we also, I need to add here that I'm going to also want to talk with you before you even get on the programs, just so you get a head start and you so you can really enter with a high note for yourself. So you get to talk with me beforehand, you get to talk with me after as well. Elizabeth's doing the free system body review. Elizabeth, do you want to talk briefly about what that is?
Yeah, it can be done remotely if you're not in LA or New York, and or in person. And we kind of do like a body scan into the nervous system and ways of implementing maybe new energetic programs that you've become disconnected from. We add them in, or sometimes we're opening up past stories, patterns, grief that's been held in the system, and can kind of constrict you from accessing your true essence, and in turn maybe blocking you from receiving. So I feel with this it serves as more like the body kind of energetic aspect of coming into this program, fully aligned on many different levels.
Yeah. Great. And for me, like working with Elizabeth, I'm always surprised at how I make leaps with my own mindsets and what I can produce in my business and my life afterwards. It's incredible, like what the body intelligence has with connected to the spiritual. So, and it's like, so it looks simple, but it's incredible. Oh man, dry throat.
Well, even as just I recently discovered the voice is also intrinsically connected to this as well. The body, and the voice is very important with the singing lessons that I did.
Totally.
Yes.
Opens up so much.
Yeah.
I've done vocal training too. I'd be happy actually to try to do some of that in these calls too. It's a good idea. And the last bonus is getting 2 tickets to our next live event. This was the last one we did was in a beautiful scene in Del Mar in San Diego here. We had an ocean view and beautiful gardens to just relax and recharge. We powered through so many breakthroughs and insights, and the women who came there, they just looked like reborn. That's the best word I can just say afterwards. Yeah. So we're going to do another live event, and we want to give you a ticket for that. And you can also bring a guest, which is like the best to be able to give good gifts to people. So, so yeah, all you have to do is to click this to join. And if you are feeling nervous about the investment, the guarantee there is if you show up and do the work and you're not satisfied with the program, you talk to us. We talk about if you showed up, if you did the work, and what you have gained from it so far, and it's just it's not fitting, then we'll just give you your money back. And honestly, no one's ever asked us for that, but if it makes you feel more comfortable about investing, that's totally fine. So we encourage you to sign up sooner than later, because as we get started on this group coaching, it's going to have a smaller amount of people, which means there's more opportunities for you to sorry, this looks funny. So there's going to be more opportunities for you to get personal coaching from us early on in the program. And we are going to cut it off after a certain point. So people do get personal attention still. But if you want to get more dedicated personal attention, come in the beginning. It's going to be better that way. And if you are thinking about signing up, not sure if you want to sign up, reach me at inspire@kristen.today, and we can have our free introductory call where we'll get you going on creating your vision, uncovering some of the challenges you're facing, and then working towards moving through that. And hopefully you get a good taste of what our work is like beyond these kind of talks and all of that. Do you have anything to add, Elizabeth? No? Great. So again, the site's kristen.today/discover-true-love. And I'm going to pause the recording now so that we can take more personal questions for a little bit and do some personal coaching. So thank you to the people listening to the recording.